Xi Jinping in China wants to do nothing more than uplift the American working class. They want prosperity for all. Because when you look at China and their ideology, are they in the business of exporting their ideology? No. Xi Jinping in China and the Chinese ruling class has made it 100% clear they are willing to do business with capitalists. And there are socialists who actually critique China for this. I don't, because I think China is living, because we don't believe in utopia. China is living in a material reality that we're in right now. I'm not saying I will govern the exact same, but Xi Jinping in China made 100% clear they want to do business with capitalists. They want to work with capitalists as long as you don't break their laws. You don't break and flex your power over the Chinese government. The homie Xi Jinping really stunning Donald Trump. And I want you guys to know during this historic meeting that Donald Trump, he couldn't pull none of his bullshit that he pulled against Zelensky, what he pulled against Keir Starmer. It's just amazing how much Donald Trump is outclassed as a statesman. Oh, let me turn the volume up. Let's turn the volume up. This is the big news. You guys know.
The People's Republic of China. Good to meet you. Great pleasure to see you again. Good to see you again.
Yes.
Me too.
And we're going to have a very successful meeting, I have no doubt.
You mean a successful surrender? You mean a successful surrender? Watching Donald Trump, MAGA media, Fox News, and just United States propagandists as a whole try to explain that this was a sort of meeting for them to come to a trade agreement. This is not a trade agreement. This is a United States surrender, fam. China didn't start anything with you guys. Donald Trump folded on his trade war. And now they're just begging to a return of a status quo that's not even a status quo. Because United States farmers needs to be bailed out. They're being bankrupt because the United States losing the trade war. China only agreed, because I read more throughout the deal there, the framework they have. China is only going to buy around 1/3 of the soybeans. They only committed to buy 1/3 of the soybeans. Donald Trump in the United States flinched so hard when China showed just one card that they have over the United States with the rare earth minerals. And now they're pretending, oh, we reached a deal on fentanyl. Now China's going to fight fentanyl. They always fought fentanyl. China is easily more anti-drug than the United States. If China didn't have any fentanyl controls or any authorities watching fentanyl, wouldn't China have a fentanyl crisis? Wouldn't their fentanyl crisis be much worse than ours, considering the elements of fentanyl is apparently made there? But you guys know what how the old saying goes during the meetings of powerful people and the power struggles. The one who talks the most is the one who is losing. The one who is talking the most is the one who is losing.
Yes.
Me too.
And we're going to have a very successful meeting, I have no doubt. But he's a very tough negotiator. That's not good. We know each other well.
Could Donald Trump be more nervous? Have you ever seen Donald Trump this nervous around the world leader? You know when it happens? It happens when he meets with real leaders who are actually sovereign, like Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin. Compare this how he treats Keir Starmer. Like we said, the person who talks the most is the one who's losing, fam. I sold cars. I will show someone the bill. I'll lay my pen down, and I'm not saying a damn thing until you do. Trust me, I was good at that. I was good at this game, guys. I sold cars for years before I fucking ruined my life. Before I ruined my life pursuing politics, I was so good at negotiating, like, bro, because I built a good rapport with my customer. I'll explain the pricing. Then after you explain the pricing, you put the paper down, you drop the pen, and I won't say a damn thing until they do. That's how the art of negotiation works. That's how power plays work. And you guys see how nervous Donald Trump is. And you think the Western media, you think the world doesn't see this? You guys think a college dropout like me is the only person who realized that Donald Trump is absolutely shook right now? Because his entire ideology, because Donald Trump, he's been speaking about this trade war with China his entire life. Like if you guys look at old clips from around 10 to 15 years ago, you're like, why don't we just wage a trade war? Well, you know, terrorists is our best weapon. I know you guys seen all those compilation clips of Donald Trump and what he used to say. So he had a chance now. He diddled with it a little bit in his first term, and he needed to bail out farmers. They lost that trade war, but it wasn't such a gigantic magnitude as it is now. So you had this economic philosophy your entire life. For decades, Western corporate media was explaining how the United States has to contain China. And you notice how the narrative has now changed. It went from the United States need to contain China to now China emerges as United States peer. All the worst nightmares and predictions that neoliberals have had for the last, well, I would say my entire lifetime when they've been floating the rise of China, it is now reality. Not only is it reality, but our economy is completely fake. It is completely in an AI bubble. Like you had NVIDIA, I saw a study that showed NVIDIA is like 12% of United States GDP. You have mass layoffs. You have the capitalist class that is preparing to destroy United States labor, and even right-wingers are realizing this. The only problem is they have no theory. They have no class consciousness, so they're panicking. They don't know what to do right now. But in China, AI is serving the working class. Under communism, AI will serve the people. Under the capitalist class are showing their hand because they're more than happy to destroy the working class using AI. And that's what's happening right now. We're in the biggest bubble easily since 2008. And I've seen people say it's worse than 2008. Our economy is complete shit. And it's going to crash here very soon. And not only that, you guys engaged in the tariff war with China and got immediately humbled. Immediately humbled. So you know how, like, you even have the Western media that's like, holy shit. Donald Trump embarrassed himself. MAGA embarrassed himself on such a spectacular level, waging a trade war, and they conceded, backed down, and got nothing out of it. Trump meeting, America has discovered that bullies can be bullied back. This you can even see the anti-China rhetoric in these liberal corporate establishments. Because what has China done to bully America? China has the EU, when you look at the UK, France, when you look at the United States, we have no reason to dislike China. If anything, Xi Jinping has been way too nice to the United States. Xi Jinping and China wants to do nothing more than uplift the American working class. They want prosperity for all. Because when you look at China and their ideology, are they in the business of exporting their ideology? No. Xi Jinping and China and the Chinese ruling class has made it 100% clear they are willing to do business with capitalists. And there are socialists who actually critique China for this. I don't. Because I think China is living, because we don't believe in utopia. China is living in a material reality that we're in right now. I'm not saying I will govern the exact same, but Xi Jinping and China made 100% clear they want to do business with capitalists. They want to work with capitalists as long as you don't break their laws. You don't break and flex your power over the Chinese government. They're willing to trade with countries who they have no business trading with, to be honest, like Israel. They willing to trade with anyone around the world because unlike the unhinged anti-communist imperialists in the West, they don't believe in exporting their ideology. You can be whatever. You can be bourgeoisie. You can be capitalist. They don't, as long as you we open for business. So why is The Guardian even framing this as Xi Jinping bullying Donald Trump back or bullying America? And I'm very frustrated because I would see stories that masquerade as critiquing Trump, but they actually doing the bidding of the empire. And I know you guys know what I mean when I say that. Because they would critique Trump, but then they would pretend that China and Xi did something wrong. They didn't do anything wrong. Donald Trump started this trade war. Joe Biden was passing anti-China regulations. He expanded and continued Donald Trump's initial anti-China economic policies. And Trump just ratcheted it up to 1,000. Let me show you guys a few more. The art of letting Trump claim a win while walking away stronger. You know how much that hurt the New York Times to write? So this is the closest you will get for the New York Times admitting that China has us by the balls. He's like, the art of letting Trump claim a win while walking away stronger. By withholding soybean purchases and rare earth exports, China extracted relief from United States tariffs and delayed export controls without conceding much in return. Why did I give them credit? At least they said they told the truth there. The subheadline is way more accurate than the main headline, I guess, because you guys see that any rational person who's studying the China-United States trade skirmish over the last year see that the United States wanted to test their global power and they realized they lost. You know how wild it is that we have a United States president that is admitting this right here? This is what Donald Trump tweeted. He says the G2 will be convening shortly. We have a United States president that is now admitting that China is on equal footing as a superpower to the United States. This is gigantic shifts. And what does it say about how Donald Trump views his pathetic vassal states? The Keir Starmers, the BlackRock. Yeah, 100%. It is a G2. Now, this is a rare Donald Trump moment of telling the truth. Because the United States is undisputedly a superpower. China is the superpower when it comes to purchasing parity. When it comes to who actually has the real strongest economy. The United States economy is propped up by AI. It's just a services economy. China is an industrial powerhouse, which is the number one trading partner to the global majority, which is dominating the AI race, that have rare earth minerals that the United States needs to maintain their economy. Their military, the technology that we enjoy now in our current life is all due to China. And Donald Trump and Scott Bessent, dumbass, didn't realize it until yesterday. So this is a giant concession. That's why I want you guys to understand by Trump and MAGA. And as I end the RBN side of this stream on the RBN YouTube, I'm going to share this because this is the definition of sovereignty versus vassal state, because we covered Donald Trump meeting his vassal puppet Sane Takaichi. Sane Takaichi, we covered on RBN, the new prime minister of Japan, who looked up to Margaret Thatcher, who is planning to cut social spending to continue the project of the Japanese ruling class of remilitarizing and welcoming a return of Imperial Japan. Donald Trump played a big part of this, but Joe Biden also put massive pressure on Japan as well, because they're preparing to increase the military budget to confront China. like the pathetic vassal states that they are. So this is like I've seen even more conservative leaning commentators that critique Japan for this because this reeks of weakness. I think so many big Japanese accounts who are not liberals or socialists by any means. I would say they're more centrist Takaichi supporters who was dismayed by this photo because it shows how it exposes the reality that you're not supposed to. That Japan is a vassal state of the United States. Look at the image here. Sanae Takaichi surrounded by United States military personnel that is occupying our country, looking like a cheerleader. Now that's sovereignty. I'm gonna continue this analysis, but if you're on the RBN YouTube page, make sure you shift over to our other social media because I'm gonna end the RBN stream now. But as I said here, and this is, I love how for some reason there a lot of my tweets are like reaching, because I've been covering a lot of East Asian politics between China, Japan, South Korea. I do a lot of debunking of North Korean propaganda. Like my X account is banging right now, man, and I have like all these Japanese people now that I'm like on the Japanese algorithm for some reason. And this is one of my tweets I posted. Got nearly 500,000 views on here. And there are like a lot of, like, wonder if I can find a few. There are a lot of like Japanese people, you see? There are a lot of Japanese people like tweeting this. And they like, man, this is embarrassing, man. Wonder if I can find it. It's not that big of a deal, but I've been noticing this personally. Like there's like a lot of, look here, there's like all these Japanese accounts following my work cover. Like I'm exposing Sanae Takaichi, exposing the United States influence on pressing these Asian countries to prepare for war against China. And now a lot of these Japanese accounts are finding my stuff. They're like, man, this shit is embarrassing. Look, even overseas journalists see it that way. Look at this. Isn't that interesting? I don't know if you guys can see it. Damn, maybe I should make it a little bit bigger. I just found this interesting because it's cool to see my tweets reaching. You guys know we got a very global audience. I don't know who this person is. They speak in Japanese. That even overseas journalists see it that way. So does that mean that there are a lot of people in Japan? And I mentioned that there's a generational divide in Japan, like in the United States. So there are a lot of people in Japan that apparently like, man, we're a fucking pathetic vassal state. They have no say. So that's a personal anecdote based on what I've been seeing on X. Like a lot of, even a ton of Japanese people I've noticed are upset. Look, Japan needs a reset. I don't know if that guy's Japanese. Yeah, I don't know the background of this person here. But you gotta say, I got like hundreds of quote tweets on this. A ton of Japanese people found this. Here's a Japanese account with a Palestine flag. Based as fuck. Bro, I rip Japan, the ruling class, but I want you guys to understand, I'm not ripping the Japanese working class. They are held victim by their fascist capitalist class the same way we are. I explained the generational divide between the young Japanese who are apologetic about the war crimes that Japan committed against China. There's youth in Japan who want a friendly relationship with China. It's the boomer Sanae Takaichi, U.S.-controlled ruling class, the Shinzo Abe imperialists, the United States puppets who control their country with an iron fist. They've been the one ruling party of Japan. They're the ones who've been advocating for being the United States vassals, and they had no choice. Where's the United States critique on that? The Japanese people didn't select her. The ruling class selected her because they know she will be a puppet. Here's another contrast. I thought one of my followers sent this to me because I showed how this is Japan versus China, vassal state versus sovereignty. Look at the difference. We have Sanae Takaichi. I'll show you guys this cringe video where Sanae Takaichi tried to get Donald Trump to bow to the flag. He like, I ain't doing that gay shit. And then she did her own little bow. Trump, he just gave the salute. He kept walking like, bro, y'all not doing that gay shit. I don't know what you're talking about. So look who's the one who is desperate for the approval. Look who's the one who is. Isn't that just an interesting contrast? The difference between the power dynamic. And then right after Xi Jinping's warm up with Donald Trump, this meeting that he obviously he don't give a fuck. He then attended his real business. They had their I think this is the annual summit they have in South Korea. Yeah, here let me pull this one. I probably should show this one first. Look at this. Xi Jinping in the limelight at Pacific Summit with Trump conspicuous by his absence. So essentially, they had this economic trade forum in South Korea. It was today, and there's like a lot of footage coming out of it today. Maybe I should find you guys. So I saw the footage of Takaichi meeting with Xi Jinping. Actually, I should show you guys that. I'm sure it's not going to be hard to find. Thanks, Sane. I always spell her name wrong. Actually, let's look at this. Look, Japan and China sitting across each other. So Japan and Xi Jinping is meeting today. I guess I decided I'll show you guys this. Here, Xi Jinping in the new. I already knew you guys were gonna roast me for that. Conspicuous, I know. You guys know I butcher words all the time. I didn't look that much into their meeting today. I guess we can look at it here. President Xi Jinping meet with this tweet not really saying much. It's just saying they met. This is what I saw. Here's our friend S.L. Canton, who I want to have back on, but we have such gigantic time zone differences. We love S.L. Canton here. We got big time zone differences. That's why he hasn't been on the show for a while. Here, Xi Jinping and Sanae Takaichi. This is today. This is today, by the way. And if I've seen videos of this summit, I made sure you guys hear some live. But Xi is such a gigantic figure during all these global events. Everywhere he goes, man, leaders around the world is very aware of the photo op that's going to be there, very aware of the power structure. It's so weird to see this dynamic now, man, because the United States have been the bullies on the world stage for decades, man. And now the dynamics completely changed. Donald Trump, because he's been waging these tariff wars, he didn't attend this free trade economic summit between Asian leaders because he's tariffing a lot of them. But China is there. And Xi was very clear about his messages to countries around the world. This is why the United States is sweating bullets over the rise of China. This is also the message that Putin is spreading. You had China who met with India. They are increasing their relationship. And this is the message that Xi was telling to Modi. This is the message that Xi is telling to our brothers and sisters in Africa. This is the message that Xi is telling France, the UK, and Canada. And they are starting to listen. Xi delivers veiled warnings to nations not to take the United States side. And when you're a country who's been a victim of United States sanctions, remember, United States sanctions 1/3 of the world population. And now they're putting tariffs on their own friends. So there are countries who was more than happy being the United States puppets that's now like, oh, I don't know about that shit no more, man. You guys are kind of unstable. Here's Canada, who deserve everything they're getting, by the way. lot of Bernie Sanders style liberals like, oh my God, Canada's a victim of Donald Trump trade war. You guys know what you signed up for. Canada has been a United States puppet supporting the Iraq war, the Afghanistan war, been supportive of the genocide in Gaza. Canada has been a vassal state to the United States, and they've essentially been operating as a 51st state. So don't get me wrong, Canada gets everything they deserve on this with the trade war. That's what you get. You want to make an enemy of Russia and China, and they're realizing this too in real time. So you know how bad it is that you have China that's convincing successfully Canada, who is right next to the United States, to start doing more business with them. You have Donald Trump and MAGA that was attacking Claudia Sheinbaum in Mexico and putting tariffs on them. And Claudia Sheinbaum, like, motherfucker, I will go to China in a millisecond. And that is what they're doing. Now Mexico is expanding their relationship with China. I wonder if I can find a headline to show you guys that. I got receipts on that. I have way too many receipts. I know that Donald Trump been putting a lot of pressure on Claudia Sheinbaum, and they increased tariffs. Oh, there it is. This is a new article. Look, MAGA, how is this foreign policy working for you? Because the foreign policy that Trump has, remember, this is Vivek Ramaswamy 101. This is what they were saying during the debate. We're going to go after all the countries that do business with China, and then all the MAGA dipshits, all the Dave Smiths out there, all the Tucker Carlsons out there, all the people who endorsed Donald Trump when it was cool. They were like, yeah, this is how we bring China to heel. Joe Biden been asleep at the wheel. When we get Donald Trump in charge, we're going to threaten other countries who do business with China. And what did I tell you guys in RBN? And a lot of these college degree having professional managerial classes scum, they didn't believe me. They thought I was just a shit talker. I told you guys that if Donald Trump does this, he's going to tank United States influence worse than Joe Biden did. So we have not only Canada that is now willing to do more business with China, you have Mexico that is looking to China. Look, higher tariffs in the U.S., Mexico part of global response to China export surge. So the United States is panicking. Here's the headline I showed you guys earlier before I dug that up. Canada's Carney to visit Xi in China, marking turning point in relations. Since I'm on this topic, I'm trying to see if I can find the story with Emmanuel Macron. Oh, look at this headline. Oh, Jesus Christ. I didn't see this. Oh, this is Bloomberg. So I can't show it to you for free. But this is the headline. I know you guys probably can't see it because the paywall they have here. But look, Emmanuel Macron tells the EU to weigh using stronger trade tool. Also, I think it's on China. Okay, sorry. I think I probably misread that. I want to. I was trying to find this article where Emmanuel Macron was explaining how they got to lean more on China. I don't know if I can find it, though. It's just a side point. But China was letting the United States have it. Apparently, Taiwan didn't come up during their meeting. The United States was essentially begging China to help them on Ukraine. And it was essentially met with an eye roll by the Chinese government, who made it clear the Chinese position is that they condemn the invasion and the war, but the war is the result of NATO aggression. And another big flex that China has to show their power over the United States, and why you don't waffle to the United States, because the Trump administration kind of ruined the United States relationship with India because it was trying to pressure India from buying Russian oil. You want to know what they didn't bring up to China, who is buying a record amount of Russian oil and gas in support of their efforts fighting against NATO. Donald Trump didn't say shit to Xi in China. You notice how Donald Trump, that China's relationship with Russia is not even on the table when it comes to negotiation. They're not mentioning it at all. Meanwhile, the United States is placing tariffs on India, and he is putting pressure on India to stop buying Russian oil. So why are they putting pressure on India but not on China? Probably because Donald Trump and MAGA knows who actually holds the cards there. They know they're not going to influence China to do shit. Meanwhile, China is busting the United States balls on funding genocide and starving the people of Cuba. You have China, who recently put out statements condemning United States invasion and United States killing a Venezuelan fishermen, their war crimes in South America. So Xi Jinping in China is not hiding their critique of the United States and why they view the United States as a rogue actor. China urges the United States to lift blockade, lift the sanctions against Cuba. You guys know the Times of India, they always have hilarious headlines. They're always super fucking dramatic. When you read the Times of India, you always gotta make sure you fact check them. And I had to fact check this one. But I do love their enthusiasm, though. The Times of India is very fucking clickbaity. But I did fact check this, and this is true. Trump in shock as China first praises Xi-Trump meeting, then torches United States brutal blockade. So Donald Trump said that the meeting with Xi Jinping was a 10 out of 10. The meeting was amazing. Then China turned around like, hey man, we got all this fucking beef with you. You guys need to fucking clean this up right now. The blockade on Cuba, you guys need to stop bombing boats in Venezuela. Within minutes, China blasted the United States for its brutal and illegal blockade on Cuba. And this is what people have been asking China to do more of, which I do think is a legitimate international criticism, that you are now the G2. Like we have like the working class of the world, and this is not me directly criticizing China, but I do sympathize. I do understand why people lay the criticism. That, hey man, we understand that while you uplifting your working class, you was uplifting people out of poverty, you was on the climb. It's understandable that you was being strategic and you was staying out of conflicts and issues. But now that you're the G2, you're here, fam. You got the United States by the balls. Now is the time for you to speak out on the human rights violations. Now it's time for you to, and don't get me wrong, China has done that. China stayed sticking up for Cuba, but now it's time for you to really step up and become a leader on the world stage. That was the criticism that many international leftists had of China, that they wasn't doing that enough. Now, I've explained a many times before that I try not to critique them on that because it's based on their general anti-imperialist ideology, that they don't want to be the moral police. They don't want to tell countries what to do. But when you have a genocidal West that is straight up in rebellion against international law, there are some people that make the argument that you have the moral obligation to be the leader, the true leader of the free world. And I do see, while even though I avoid that argument because I think it's upon us to hold our ruling class accountable, I do sympathize with that. You know, and not, I don't think it's the most shit-lived style argument that you can make. And I think this is why I see a lot of international outlets that are praising China for stuff like this. This is the Times of India. I think there's a relief among the global population that China is willing to step up and put the United States into check, even though there's still much more they can do. To show how much, I think this is funny. This is kind of what I put in the thumbnail. Donald Trump in the White House was so excited and so happy about this meeting. This is what the White House posted. I think this is funny. Donald Trump showing Xi Jinping this message. Bro, I have never seen Xi Jinping make a face like that in my entire life. The pure meme potential out of this photo alone, and I've seen some great memes already come from this. But I think we can begin to wrap this segment up here. I want to make sure I get into some other stories as well. Make sure you guys support us on Patreon. I'm still going through the monetization process, which is hell. I'm not going to be actually paid on YouTube for a very long time. So make sure you guys support the Patreon if you're enjoying this. Like, share the stream. And I could easily dedicate 45 minutes on this alone because the level in which China and Xi humbled Donald Trump and MAGA has been just pure art. It has been a thing of beauty. And once again, Zoe, you remember all the people who thought I was just talking shit. And I was talking shit, but I wasn't just talking shit. When Donald Trump was elected, what did I tell you guys? I still have multiple viral tweets in our election night while I was playing that, man, we're about to watch because China is in a different position than 2019. Now you're going to have Donald Trump. And I was listening to what the Vivek Ramaswamy, what the right-wing think tankers were saying, what Donald Trump and Fox News was saying in terms of their plan to bring Xi Jinping and China to heel. And then whenever I heard their plan, I'm like, you guys are sweet summer children. China is about to eat you guys alive. And as Donald Trump announced a trade war, I was like, bro, this is it. You guys are about to get cooked. I told you guys Xi Jinping is about to clown Donald Trump on the world stage. And this is the kind of delusion that was coming from MAGA. Before the trade war, before they was humbled. Look at it. Look at the delusion from Zero Hedge. China has three options. Concede defeat, whatever terms Trump demands. You got to realize number one is essentially what the United States did for China. They conceded to everything that China wanted in order to return to the status quo. He said, devalue the yuan by 20 to 40%, unleash the biggest fiscal stimulus in history, talking 2 to 3 trillion, which will push its debt off the chart. So you see at the time, Zoya, I remember you guys seen this too, right? The amount of these delusional tweets coming from all the MAGA slop accounts. They're like, oh, now it's time for us to bring China to heel. China never seen a president like Donald Trump before. You guys are going to hold this L for a very long time.